I'm excited that you're going to be joining me in my studio to make the Goodnight Star quilt. To begin with, we need to prepare our papers and our fabrics for class. This video will go over all the details to get yourself ready for the class so that when you arrive, we're ready to begin sewing. If you have any questions beyond this video, please do not hesitate to reach out to me via email, text, or phone. Every Judy Niemeyer pattern begins the same way. The first 3 pages in this pattern, plus half of the 4th page, has all the basic information regarding supplies, as well as what should be found in this specific pattern for you to make the Goodnight Star quilt. If you'll notice there in the second section under newsprint, I've highlighted where it says NP 742 6 pages and TP 554 3 pages. The NP pages are your newsprint pages that are going to be your foundation papers, and the TP pages are your template pages that you'll use to cut your fabrics. Pull the newsprint sheets out of your pattern and make sure that you have all of those pages. The numbers are located in the corners of the newsprint sheets. Once you've confirmed that you have all the papers that you're supposed to have in your pattern, you're ready to move on. If for some reason there is a sheet missing, simply call QuiltWorks and they will send you a replacement sheet. Next, we're going to make sure that there are no corrections to our pattern. You'll notice the QR code under the section labeled Corrections. If you scan that code, it will take you directly to the page on the QuiltWorks website where you can purchase this pattern, and it will show you to the right-hand side when the last corrections for this pattern were printed. If you flip your pattern instructions over to the back side, you'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner there is a print date for your pattern. If the date on the website for the last correction comes after the date that your pattern was corrected, you're going to want to click the link on the website for that correction and make note of it. It's a good idea to read through the basic instructions and familiarize yourself with the tools that you're going to need as well as the terminology. Beyond that, when you come to sew with me, the sewing machines will all be set up with the Microtex needle. All you need to bring is your 50 weight thread for sewing. You'll also need to make sure to bring your add-a-quarter rulers, a folding template, your favorite rotary cutter, repositionable glue, and your fabric glue stick. Repositionable glue is hard to find, and I do have some here in the studio if you need to purchase some, as well as fabric glue pens and refills. Now we're ready to prepare the foundation papers. You're going to take your papers out and you're going to cut out 12 of each of the SS foundation sheets, SS1, SS2, and SS3. They're located on NP 742, and 3 of each of the templates for the SS templates labeled TP 554. When you're cutting out your foundation papers, cut about 1/4 of an inch away from that outer boundary line. When you're cutting out your template sheets, do cut right on the lines because you're going to be using these like you would a pattern to cut your background pieces as well as your strips for your star diamonds. If you purchased your kit from the Quiltster Marketplace and it came from a certified instructor or a certified shop, then likely all of your fabrics in your kit are labeled in some way. Hopefully they're labeled by groups, and if so, it makes it really easy for you to put the color swatches in the pattern or to label the different groups in your pattern so that you know where all the fabrics are supposed to go. Pay attention to the strips that are on your fabrics if you purchase them in a kit online from a certified instructor or shop, because this will help you to lay everything out. If you did not purchase a kit from a certified instructor or a certified shop, then the chart on page 5 is one of the charts that can help you lay out your quilt. You can see on mine that I actually wrote the name of the color groups that I used in my quilt. You can do that too. There's also a place on the chart where you can place a fabric swatch. If you don't understand this charting process, or if you would like help taking your fabrics and putting them into Quiltster so that we can figure out where everything is going to lay out, then please reach out to me before you cut anything. The diagram located at the bottom of page 5 gives you the basic layout of each block in this quilt. You can see that fabrics A1, A, and A1 to F1, these bigger pieces are the templates for your background fabrics, which in my quilt are the black and the white. The diamonds that are in the middle, they're basically laid out with 9 different fabrics or 9 different sections, and you can see those labeled by S1 through S9. If you want, you can just pick your fabrics and lay them out using that as well. Then they get put together in 3 rows. That's what's depicted by the unit SS1, SS2, and SS3. So that's another way that you can color your quilt if you have fabrics in your stash that you're using. The diagram that's used on page 6 and 7 with the big chart is another way to lay out your fabrics. You can see that at the top of the graph it has an assigned color for fabric 1 through 8. And you can also see that they are labeled as S1, S2, S3, and so on. Basically, you're going to need a 2.5 inch by 42 inch strip for every box on that chart if you're going to just lay out your own colors and you're not trying to get a specific like color group effect, rainbow effect, or something like that in your quilt. When you get to the next step and you're ready to cut your strips, the best way to determine the number of 2.5 inch strips from each fabric you have chosen is to paste swatches into the table, and then for every time a fabric shows up, you need to cut 1 strip. Once you have all your 2.5 inch strips cut, then you're ready to cut them using the templates. They should be stacked in numerical order with fabric S9 on the bottom and S1 on the top. Position one of the SS templates onto the top of the stack and cut 2 strips from each stack. If it's too hard to cut through 9 layers of fabric, then split it up, cut, and then restack. The leftover pieces can be used to make your swatches and glue them to your foundation papers so that you don't get your fabrics confused while you're sewing. Each stack will make 1 of each foundation sheet, SS1 to SS3. The diagrams and instructions for cutting and sorting these strips is located on page 8. You can see in these pictures where I took some foundation sheets from another quilt set, but still a diamond. You can see that they're labeled section 1, section 2, section 3, and then fabric S1, S4, S2. That's where it tells you where you want to put your little swatches, and you'll put 1 swatch for each fabric on one end of those foundation sheets, which will be pictured here in just a second. This helps to keep us organized with what strips we're sewing in which section. Judy's technique for making these types of diamonds involve putting together 3 or 4 sections So you'll notice on your sheets that they're labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4, and each one is going to be different. So you need to make sure that you're sewing the right fabrics into each section on those foundation sheets. This is why we use a little bit of the fabric glue to glue our swatches on one end of our foundation sheets so we know which fabrics go where. Use the chart where you put your fabric swatches to match up sections and fabrics that are labeled S1 through S9. Here's a little preview of how they'll be placed when we start sewing them to kind of give you an idea. If you experience any problems at all, please don't hesitate to give me a holler. If you need to come over and work on this to get it all set up, please give me a holler and we can set up a time this week before our class on Saturday.